Howdy, howdy. My name is Trisha Lee.
Welcome to the Common Sense Cowgirl.
I'm here in Washington, D.C., believe it or not. So I came here for this demonstration for crimes against children, and I was just inspired to make a video about it. So first I want to show you my sign. I made a two-sided sign. So this side says, "End the Indian Act. Free our First Nations from the pedocracy now. Lock them up for their crimes of institutional genocide and seize their wealth." And there's a picture of the Pope and the Queen. What their crimes of genocide are? Well, in Canada, the Church of England and the Catholic Church, headed by the Queen and the Pope, had this residential school program, which basically there's documentation that Kevin Annett has presented in a common law court case that shows the purpose of the residential schools was to basically commit genocide against our First Nation people. And so Kevin Annett, through his common law court, has issued arrest warrants, but nobody has the balls to enforce those warrants. So my poster is bringing forward this issue, and hey, we have crimes here, we have evidence, we have prosecution and an arrest warrant, and yet no arrest has come. And in addition to that, there's the whole Nazi rat line thing, where I think a lot of the missing gold from the Nazi gold from World War II ended up at the House of Windsor and at the Vatican.
Warrants issued for the arrest of the Queen and Prime Minister David Cameron for sexual crimes against children, Sunday, February 2nd, 2014. Today, Queen Elizabeth and UK Prime Minister David Cameron received arrest warrants. The two were charged with sexual crimes against children as part of an international pedophile ring. "We have enough evidence to prosecute and hold both the Prime Minister and Queen of England," said ex-Royal Military Policeman Matt Taylor. Last Thursday, activist David Copan was released from the London Park Royal Mental Health Centre. On October 10, 1964, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip were seen taking 10 native children from the Canadian Kamloops Residential School. The aged 10 children haven't been heard of since Canadian courts refused to hear the case that also involved the 50,000 Canadian missing Indigenous children. Are we in danger if the global elites were not held responsible for their crime? Evidently so. 2 witnesses died of mysterious causes prior to February 3rd, 2013. Brussels court that convicted the Queen and Cameron, former Pope Ratzinger, and 37 other elites of crimes against humanity.
The reason I was inspired to make this video is because of this church that I just stumbled upon. So the demonstration was all about crimes against children, and other side of my sign is more political message, and it says there's a book called The Transformation of America where Kathy O'Brien, she accuses a lot of people of crimes against her as a child, and one of those people was Pierre Trudeau. So the sign says Pierre Trudeau molested Kathy O'Brien, end the pedocracy, and vote Dragon. So I have a theory that I think our handsome, wonderful Prime Minister of Canada, I have a theory that his dear old dad, Pierre, probably pimped him out to Jimmy Savile. I don't know. I haven't really investigated that, but that's my theory.
And here's another update. So someone found out that the Pierre Elliott Trudeau is the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau's father, and former Prime Minister as well, who died recently. And they have a boy lover logo on their Trudeau Foundation. So if you go to this foundation, Trudeau, I believe that's French.ca, and there's this English.pdf. This is a PDF of the foundation annual report. Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. Took some screenshots. And going further, this is Quebec, etc. Here's their you can email to them. But if you go onwards into this document, on page 2, they have a ginormous boy lover logo. This looks absolutely identical. This is crazy. So again, could be a coincidence to me. I believe it might not, but I think it might be more into it. So we need to look more into it. If you go to page 5, read what it says. The Foundation's willingness to stand behind challenging and sensitive research topic is unmatched. I conduct research on children and families affected by war and its intergenerational impact For my project, the foundation fully supported my initiative to include children born of wartime rape as core members of the research team, designing the research and collecting and analyzing data. The foundation defends and champions what I think of as a scholarly, risk-taking, as a researcher to be supported in this way is both unique and meaningful. As Miriam Denove, 2014 fellow, I think we should look into her, and Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. So basically their logo looks identical to the Boy Lover logo, and given their dealings with vulnerable children, especially those involved in wartime rape, such a very specific group of people, and then using those as their core members, this foundation needs to be investigated further because of that Boy Lover logo. So make sure to check my earlier videos. In my earlier video I went over the FBI pedophile logos discovered. So again, stay tuned for future parts as I will dive into this later. So make sure to subscribe and yes, stay tuned because I go in extreme detail. So note also that Pierre Trudeau has been accused of being a pedophile years before by people such as the MK Ultra victim Cathy O'Brien, put a apostrophe there, and the famous reptilian theorist David Icke. They've been mentioning this, that Pierre Trudeau was an actual pedophile, and they've been doing this for years, and now there's this giant logo on his Pierre Trudeau Foundation. You can't make this stuff up. You just seriously can't. So this needs to be investigated further. You can Google, you could check out Cathy O'Brien, who wrote in her book. David Icke's been saying this, mentioning it many times before as well.
We'll speak about Cathy O'Brien, warrants issued for Her Majesty, and former political figure David Cameron. The age of consent in Canada, the government and who its true rulers are up there in our neighboring country, Canada, and who in fact is Pierre Trudeau. Pierre Trudeau. And thanks to Chevy Love, this has been brought to our attention. It says, in her autobiography, Transformation of America, author Cathy O'Brien exposed her life as an MK Ultra presidential model, government sex slave as a young girl. She spent a lot of time with former Canadian PM and alleged pedophile and rapist Pierre Trudeau. Trudeau, whatever you want to call him. According to her account, Pierre is the father to Justin. Interesting. Very interesting. Canada Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, son of alleged rapist and pedophile Pierre. In her autobiography, Transformation of America, author Cathy O'Brien exposed her life as an MK Ultra presidential model government sex slave. As a young girl, she spent a lot of time with former Canadian Prime Minister and alleged pedophile and rapist Pierre. According to her account, Pierre is the father to Justin. Another article, conspiracyresearch.blogspot.com, the Illuminati Code, the Jewish plan for the destruction of the white race and enslavement of all humanity. Pierre Trudeau, pedophile. Editor, in 1980, a childhood friend and his single father both disclosed to me that their nanny of many years had formerly worked for PM Pierre Trudeau at 24 Sussex Drive. She had quit and never told them why until years later. She said he was a homosexual pedophile who had his staff bring young boys to the residence for sex with Prime Minister. Trudeau is the most loved Canadian of all time, by the women of course, and their, yes, dear husbands. They are the suckers for this charming psychopath. Justin Trudeau with his father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, at a Montreal Expos baseball game in 1987. Trudeau was a Canadian Prime Minister. In her book Transformation of America, MK Ultra survivor Cathy O'Brien stated that many world leaders, including Pierre Trudeau and Brian Mulroney, are pedophiles. She met them in the course of her life as a sex slave trained with her young daughter to serve as high-profile politicians. Other sources support Cathy O'Brien's allegations. Over the years, insiders have told me that Pierre's 1968 marriage to Margaret was arranged by the military. The couple programmed with LSD at a remote farm in British Columbia. According to Trudeau's Jesuit mentor, Trudeau ordered the kidnap and murder of his enemy Pierre Laporte in October 1970 because Laporte was threatening him with blackmail and exposure as a pedophile. After Margaret ran off with the Rolling Stones in 1977, the marriage was over. Soon after, as a single father, Pierre turned to a York University sociologist, John Seeley, for parental advice. Seeley, a self-proclaimed sadist and pedophile, would fly up to Ottawa on weekends to advise Pierre on how he should be raising his 3 sons. Justin was 6. Quite a childhood. First, the trauma of being separated from the mother he adored, then frequent exposure to his father's unsavory friends.
Anyway, I was walking along here and I came across the Shiloh Baptist Church, and I noticed they have these signs all around. Alea Omar missing December 13th, 2016. Destiny Brown missing February 26th, 2017. Angela Mead. And so it goes all the way down and all the way around the church. They have these signs of all these kids that have gone missing here in Washington, D.C.
We can't go nowhere by ourselves. We can't do nothing because we have to get worried about somebody trying to take us.
I just implemented a process to ensure that all critical missing persons receive the same level of police service and media attention.
By the police being transparent and putting out all missing person cases, it brings about awareness.
Now that there is this increased focus, we know that 2,000 missing cases is just far too many. I think a lot of us in the community came together after this really became a national issue and said, what can we do not to fuel the flames, not to fuel the hysteria, but to really have a positive impact on our young women.
I'm just disgusted that there was like 100,000 people marching around the area where I was against Trump, and we had less than 100 people show up for crimes against children. I just have had enough. I'm like ready to bow out of this society. There's these people like the Clintons and the Bushes and the Trudeaus and that have been committing crimes against humanity for decades, and nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. It's like, it doesn't hurt me, but you're wrong if you believe that, because these kids, if they don't end up dead when they grow up, they're going to just have a hell of a time because of the abuse they suffer. They're going to be drug addicts, they're going to be criminals, it's just going to be all bad. So I got a ton of footage from the demonstration, and I look forward to writing a whole bunch of articles about new information that was presented by the speakers, and just continuing to get this message out there and figure out a way that we can get 100,000 people to come out for kids. Like, really, women are fighting for their rights when like all these kids are missing, and all like recently, like February 2017, December 2016, these kids just went missing and nobody gives a damn. I can't. I don't know. I know I give a damn. It's like, get your head out of the sand. I can't do this by myself. We need more people to help us. Like, we've got some, but it's just not enough. Just not enough. So
Ask and you shall receive. Enter Craig Sawman Sawyer and Veterans for Child Rescue. I got home from DC feeling a little defeated that pedophiles run this world and nobody seems to give a damn. And less than a week after returning home, Craig Sawman Sawyer and his team have launched a GunFundMe campaign to expose and bring these people to justice. So I'm so excited because not only have we got more people involved in this fight, but Craig has bringing the right kind of people. If anyone can get this job done and bring the Queen of England and the Pope to justice, it's Craig Sawman Sawyer and his team. So I hope you'll donate generously to their GunFundMe campaign. Look for the link somewhere on this video.
In short, I am inclined to go public with this because this whole pedophile business has been really suppressed by the media. I know people that have done good investigations, been part of great roundups and networks of arrests in this field, and they just say, man, it just doesn't hit the light of day. It just goes away because there is so much influence. A lot of these pedophiles are very connected, they're very wealthy, and they own a lot of the media, and things just get swept under the rug. And I have decided to go independent. We were supposed to have a television series to kind of show this 2 years ago, and it keeps not happening because those involved in the media apparently don't want to still see this come to life. So my heart breaks when I imagine the visual of what I'm learning from my friends that are deep into these investigations and saying, you know, Craig, this is turning out, revealing itself to be the front lines between good and evil in the United States. This is really kind of what my friends are seeing as the front lines of the fight for the soul of our nation, because it's so sick and so depraved what they're learning with these arrests and the bus and what they're finding. That the website is VETS, VETS, and the number 4, and then the words childrescue.org. So VETS 4, the number 4, childrescue.org. They can go there. There's a way to donate.
I'll leave it at that. Go out there and have an amazing day. I want everybody to know that I'm a firm believer that in this life, absolutely anybody can be, do, and have anything they want, or we can have everything we want, or at least we should be able to if we could get rid of some of this corruption and just this terrible blackmail scenario that goes on with the people in charge of making laws and enforcing them and deciding, like, okay. So anyway, if I don't see you in the future, I'll see you in the pasture. Have an amazing day. Thanks for watching. Bye, y'all.